I'm going to try to wrap this up as soon as possible, and I'm going to be talking a little fast so you can keep up. So, straight from the beginning, we got to lay out the foundation before we can start talking about Demetrius Andrade, 21-0 with 14 knockouts, the WBO 154-pound champion, and Matt Korobov, 24-0 with 14 knockouts, the #1 contender for the 160-pound WBO championship. Now, it's a whole bunch of confusion, but see, basically, you're having Peter Quillin, you're having his representatives, and you're having Golden Boy Promotions spinning that shit around. But realistically, let's talk about it. There was a purse bid for an HBO fighter, Matt Korobov, to get his title shot against the Showtime Al Heyman. Even though he's not bound to Showtime or not bound to Golden Boy, he fights primarily on he fights on Showtime. That's a whole different story in itself. So I did many videos on that part. But what I'm saying is, you got Matt Korobov, who's a top-ranked Bob Arum fighter on HBO. Then you got Peter Quillin, 31-0 with 22 KOs, the WBO 160-pound champion. Then you got a purse bid. Why they go to a purse bid is because in the past these guys have been known, especially when it comes to Bob Arum and Al Heyman, they cannot get deals done. So therefore you have the WBO saying, okay, we know you can't do it, then we're going to do it for you. They did the same thing with Vasil Lomachenko and Gary Russell Jr. Vasil Lomachenko had to go over to Showtime because Showtime won the purse bid, because I would have won as Vasil Lomachenko. And he beat Gary Russell in uncharted waters and took the belt back to Bob Arum and HBO. So now you have this purse bid and you have a third party. So you have Golden Boy Promotions, and then you have Top Rank Boxing at this purse bid. But then you have, guess who? You have Jay-Z and Rock Nation. Now you have to look at the marketing strategy for Jay-Z and Rock Nation. And from what I'm getting from it is that they're going to show up the purse bids and they're going to outbid you by an outrageous amount of money. I believe Top Rank had bid something like $200,000. I believe Golden Boy had bid something like $500,000. Correct me if I'm wrong. But then you have Rock Nation comes in and say $1.9 million. So you would have Korobov make it a super career high in $500,000, and you would have Peter Quillin making more than double than he's ever made in his career in $1.4+ million, and he has a baby on the way. He had a baby coming. So when you think about him, Peter Quillin, if you don't know, he dropped his 160-pound WBO title and walked away from $1.4 million because he says he wanted to move on and fight better competition. Matvey Korobov is a highly decorated amateur. Matvey Korobov is undefeated. Matvey Korobov is, I can say, put it away, he has international acclaim. So when you look at the fact that Peter Quillin fought Lucas Konechny, you think like, well, wait a minute. You fought him, but then you're not going to fight. So long story short, Peter Quillin is no longer the champion, and he doesn't have that $1.4 million unless Al Heyman, his manager, advised him, gave him that $1.4 million. But once again, let me tell you, don't get caught up in all the bullshit, fans. Golden Boy is going to tell you some shit. Peter Quillin is telling you some shit. But realistically, it's because Al Heyman does not want to work with Jay-Z. Does not want to have his fighter work on a Rock Nation card. Now, Rock Nation said they would gladly put the fight on HBO or Showtime, but they said they would put the fight on Showtime because we know that Al Heyman and Golden Boy have an issue with HBO right now. So what ends up happening is Peter Quillin is advised and managed to drop his belt. He has no choice because he has a contract. His signature with Al Heyman. He does what Al Heyman says, and all the fighters say, we just say yes. Whatever Al Heyman says, we do it. So you have to think that he must have got that $1.4 million, right? From Al Heyman, or what's going on with that. But now let's move on, since it's the second half of the video. You got Demetrius Andrade, 21-0 with 14 knockouts, 154-pound current WBO champion. Last fight was against who? I forgot. Oh, Brian Rose of Match Boxing. You know, who he knocked out in the 7th round or 6th, if I'm correct. Knocked him down multiple times in the fight. And that was on the Provonicov versus Algieri undercard. He's a banner promotions fighter. And Ruslan is a banner promotions fighter. So you got his last 2 fights, right? You got Venice Martirosyan. Before that, you got Freddie Hernandez, and that was on ESPN. And then you got Brian Rose. So if you look at the 154-pound division, you got Floyd Mayweather, and you might as well not even, I don't really count him in that division. So then you got Erislandy Lara, Saul Canelo Alvarez, then you got Demetrius Andrade, then you got guys like Josh Clottey, you know, people like that. But Josh Clottey, the reason why I'm throwing his name out there, because his name is starting to ring bells. You got to understand what I'm saying. But I can't talk about that in this video because, like I said, I got to talk fast because I don't want my battery to die. So you got Demetrius Andrade, who says, okay, yeah, I'll take that title shot. But then you also have the #1 contender, you know, outside of Korobov. I know it's a confusing situation. But then you have who was the newly appointed #1 contender, Billy Joe Saunders, that Bob Arum has stated he was already working on a deal after Peter Quillin dropped the title to have Korobov go over to the UK to fight Billy Joe Saunders. Billy Joe Saunders is also undefeated at 20-0 with 11 KOs. Billy Joe Saunders is going to be taking on Chris Eubank Jr. Chris Eubank Jr. is 17-0 with 12 KOs. So the winner of Billy Joe Saunders, why I keep saying Billy Joe Johnson, Billy Joe Saunders and Chris Eubank will most likely fight the winner of Matt Korobov versus Demetrius Andrade. Now, as far as Demetrius Andrade is concerned, if you do not know who he is good. People compare him to Erislandy Lara, but no, he has a better punch variety in Erislandy Lara, even though he's left-handed, but he seems to be, how can I put it? He goes to knock you out. He doesn't do all that pussyfooting around like Erislandy Lara does, and I'm not just talking about the Canelo Alvarez fight. I'm talking about Erislandy Lara has this issue when it comes to his big fights. The reason why he has 19 wins, he has 2 losses, and he has 2 draws because he doesn't go in his big fights. He doesn't go out there and finish the job. He doesn't do enough. Carlos Molina, Paul Williams, Venus Martirosyan, and Canelo. And there's somebody else I'm missing. But like I said, if you don't know, I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. The fight between Andrade and Korobov is not official yet, but they are going to fight. Top Rank now has, I believe, like something like 10 days to get the deal done. 10 days from the day, September the, what is the day? September the 18th, 2014. And the fight's most likely going to happen sometime in November, late November. And, you know, we're just going to go from there. But the thing I don't understand is like the WBO is making Andrade, if he fights for this title, he has to drop his WBO 154-pound title. So I don't know if he knew that already. You know, I mean, I think maybe he wanted to be a double division champion at the same time, you know, fight at 154 and fight at 160. Because, see, here's the thing. When he fights at 160 or above the 154 limit, he never has weighed in any more than 157, I believe. So he's never fully been a 160-pounder. But if you look at his frame, the guy's 6'1", you know, so later on in his career, I can see him being, you know, 160, 168-pound fighter, maybe a 175-pound, because, I mean, the guy is 26 years old, so there's still time for that. But, like I said, I don't want my battery to die. There's going to be so much to talk about. So, like I said, to run things back down, you got Demetrius Andrade is going to be taking on Matt Korobov for the 160-pound title. The 154-pound title is going to be vacated, so there's going to be an empty 154-pound WBO title. That's going to be an interesting story right there. And then you have Billy Joe Saunders, who's going to be taking on Chris Eubank. And Billy Joe Saunders was supposed to be fighting Matt Korobov, so you have to think that after that fight, that Eubank or Joe Saunders is going to get a shot at Korobov or Andrade. Now, those are exciting fights. I'm going to be covering all those fights like I cover every single major fight live. T Street Controversy with Real Combat Media, T Street Controversy Live.